Welcome to Hill Country Network. My name's Chuck Garrett, and my guest today is Mr. Robbins Rogers. Robbins, appreciate you being here with us.
Yes, sir.
Robbins is running for the House of Representatives as a Republican, correct?
That's right.
And I really appreciate him being here today to talk to us. Our goal is to help the community get to know him a little better, and I know you guys have known him for a long time. His family's been here for a lot of years, but we want to give you an opportunity to get to know him a little bit more specifically, and more specifically as someone who is running for the House. So let's get with it. Why don't you start, Mr. Rogers, just by kind of introducing yourself? And
Okay. My name is Robbins Ellis Rogers. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in New Albany. My parents are Fred Rogers and Margaret Ellis Rogers. My mom currently holds the position of state representative, and she has for 4 terms now, 16 years. My grandfathers are my mom's dad was Dr. David B. Ellis. He saved a lot of lives and did a lot of things for New Albany. My other grandfather, my dad's dad, was Herbert Graham Rogers Jr. He started Rogers LP Gas Company before I was born. I was born and raised here. I've been here all my life. I love New Albany. I'm married to Jonna Doles of Corinth, Mississippi. She is an educator at the elementary school here in New Albany.
I think you got 4 children.
I've got 4 children.
I hate to ask you, but how about what are their names, just in case?
We have a 19-year-old that's a freshman at Ole Miss,
All right.
Avery Grace. We have a 10th grader, Mary Claire Shaw, and we have twin 3-year-olds. Twin 3-year-olds.
I didn't know y'all had pulled that off.
Sam Bradley Rogers and John Robbins Rogers.
Well, now, there's a heredity factor to this whole twins thing,
That's
isn't
right. There is.
there? Wasn't your mother a twin?
My mother was a twin. She has a twin sister, Mary Pace, that lives in Tupelo.
All right.
And we learned after we had conceived twins that my wife's great uncle had 3 sets of twins, which she did not know that.
So you had that working on both sides.
That's right.
So how, I assume you knew that early in the pregnancy?
Yes,
All right.
very early.
So the preparation had to be exciting.
That's right.
Did you know the genders right off the bat?
We did.
All right. There and
2
you
boys.
You just told 2 boys.
2 boys. Yes.
Well,
So now it's been the household is even now. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. So
okay. Well, you got a chance,
the
baby.
vote, we have even votes at the house.
Although
now.
Mom's got a lot of influence
she does.
on boys, you know.
She does.
But well, congratulations. I didn't know that had. So they're 3 years old.
They are. They'll be 4 in June.
And the girls graduated. They went to New Albany, didn't they?
They did.
All right.
They
And
went
you
to
teach
Albany.
in New Albany.
I do.
How long have you been? And Jonna teaches in New Albany.
does.
How long have y'all been teaching in New Albany?
She has been teaching 17 years, and I have been teaching 10 years. I taught 3 years at the elementary school where I met her, and then this is my 7th year at the middle school, so I have 10 years in.
All right. And you teach?
I teach ICT.
All right. Well, ICT, in education, we're really good with initials and
Absolutely.
acronyms, however you want to say it. What is ICT?
That is Information and Communications Technology.
And part of that course has to do with coding, doesn't
That's
it?
correct.
Can you explain to people, this coding thing went from almost non-existent to a big deal, and now everybody's talking coding. Why do students need to know coding?
Well, coding is one of those things that you pretty much need code for everything that you do now technology-wise, whether it's running a robot, cell phones, smartphones, any kind of program really, websites that you search, shop online every day, any of that kind of stuff, you need code in order to do it, and few people know how to do it. So there's lots of jobs asking for people to code websites and coding for anything really, and there's just not enough people that know it. So
And basically our whole iPhone works off of
That's right.
a different set of codes.
It's a skill that's highly needed, and not enough people know how to do it.
And it pays pretty well.
It
from what
pays
I
really well.
understand.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and John has been teaching 17 years? you
17
said?
years.
And what is her area?
She is 5th grade currently. She started off as first grade teacher, and she was moved to fourth grade at one time. Now she's done fifth grade for a few years.
Okay.
And next year she'll be at the middle school.
And both of you drive a bus.
Yes, both drive school buses.
I want y'all to know that driving a bus now, a bus full of young people, is an experience that not everybody wants to have.
It will test your patience.
And but you guys have done a great job at it. And how long have you been driving a bus?
I have been driving now, I think, for 4 years. I'm in my fourth year, and my wife has driven 1 year longer, so about 5 years for her, about 4 years for me.
Okay.
So.
Well, appreciate your service in that
Absolutely.
regard. Not everybody has the opportunity to run for a seat in the House that a family member holds.
That's right.
And I know your mother was elected, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago?
16.
16.
Mhm.
I knew yeah, I remember when she was elected, and I always felt like she was very supportive of everything that we were trying to do in the school district.
Oh, yes.
But now you're running to try to win that seat.
Correct.
How does that feel?
I'm honored to do it. I've sort of watched my mom. I was 17 when she decided that she was going to run, so I think she was a little hesitant at that time whether she should run. That was my senior year, and she wanted to make sure she could trust me to get to school every day and take care of myself while she was gone. So that helped me grow up a lot that year, and I've been proud of what she's done, and I just want to carry on what she has done. I think she's done a great job, and I just want to take it a step further than that.
Has she been able to offer some advice or some organizational kind of strategies? Or
She said, you need tough skin. They're going to try to persuade you to vote a certain way sometimes, and you need to stick to what you believe in, and make sure you remember who you're representing and where you come from. So
I know she did cast some tough votes, especially for education over the years.
that's right.
And and I know I personally appreciated her courage
Yes, sir.
in that. So you went to Ole Miss.
I did.
I think that's another family tradition. Didn't your dad play basketball at Ole Miss?
He did. He played basketball for a year at Ole Miss. Both of my grandfathers were Mississippi State guys, but my family ended up attending the other university at Ole Miss.
The one you went
That's
to.
right. That's right.
Okay, and so how? And you majored in.
I started out in business my freshman year and decided that was not something I was wanting to do. I didn't know where I was going to take that degree, and so I switched to education.
Okay.
Switched majors and did that.
How's your dad these days? I know he was the school board lawyer for a long
Yes,
time.
he's good. He's doing well. He's
Okay.
doing well.
Well, that's good. I'm good to hear. You are a Republican.
I am.
What are the things about the Republican Party that make you a Republican?
Just their views in general. My campaign is focused more, the issues at hand these days are Second Amendment rights. I'm highly supportive of Second Amendment rights. I'm pro-life. If I had to choose a party, Republican would be what I chose.
Okay. Now, was your mom a Republican?
She started off as a Democrat actually years ago, and then she switched to the Republican
I
Party.
thought she was a
So,
Democrat.
Yeah,
I
sort of on
I
the
thought
fence
she
at one
was-
time. Yeah.
I didn't know. Well, there's been
Right.
quite a few Democrats in Mississippi
Right.
who have chosen to be Republicans
There's
in the
always
last
gonna be-
20 years.
There's always going to be a few views that you might label as Democratic, but I think that's the mindset of anybody. I mean, you have some people that are so far Democrat they can't even see a view on the Republican side.
Right.
But
You see a lot of those on TV.
That's right. No matter what, they're gonna stick to
Same
it,
thing
yeah.
with Republicans. You see them they're so Republican
that's
they
right. Can't open their mind.
Right. I know that you're a member of various clubs and organizations,
That's
church.
right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. My wife and I and children, we attend First Baptist Church in New Albany. Let's see, what am I a member of? I'm a member of the Main Street Association.
Yes, sir.
I'm a member of the Heritage Museum here in New Albany.
It's been a tremendous success. hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Main Street has too.
It has.
There's been a lot of different groups who really helped New Albany
Yes.
grow in the last several years.
They have. I'm also a member of, Ole Miss Alumni Association, being a graduate, and I'm an Eagle Scout as well, so Boy Scouts of America.
I read that you had gotten your Eagle Scout.
Yes.
That's not an easy endeavor, is
No, it took many years.
it? Okay.
Well worth it.
recreationally, things you enjoy?
Sporting events. I love sports.
You still a season ticket holder for Ole Miss football?
I am currently. We're still debating on which sport to invest in at this point.
Okay.
I'm sort of
What are your options?
between basketball and football. I'm really a basketball guy, but I've
Well, then your dad,
invested in football for many years. But I grew up in a basketball family.
well, then your
so-
dad played basketball,
That's
there, right?
Yes, he
Okay.
did. And they've turned it around, so we're looking at basketball more than football right now. So
All right. Growing up, who had a positive impact on who you've become?
I would definitely say both of my grandfathers. They both had that mindset of hard work, dedication pays off, and if they told you they were going to do something, they would do it. There didn't need to be any kind of agreement signed on paper. They would tell you they would do something, they would shake your hand, and
You could count on
you
it.
could count on them. And so they helped mold me into what I am, and also my mother. I mean, she's always had my back no matter what. So I've always looked up to her and watched her the past 4 terms, what she's done in the legislature, and I just want to make sure that it stays in good hands. So
Well, and I know she serves with grace.
she does.
I mean, she takes difficult things, and it's like she's always taking a deep breath before she
That's
talks.
right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
Because she doesn't get too carried away.
That's right.
Pretty measured,
I
and
mean,
that's a hard skill to
I
learn.
think I guess now that you said that, I may have inherited that tendency because my dad used to tell people, especially when I was younger, I just didn't talk a lot. I was
Uh-huh.
a great listener, but I didn't talk a whole lot, especially around people that I didn't know. But he would say, my son doesn't talk a whole lot. He's a great listener, but when he does decide to speak, you need to listen because he's pondered on what he's about to say. So
And you saying that you're a great listener, I want to pick up on that just a little bit.
okay,
A lot of politicians have town hall meetings,
right,
and they use them to tell everybody who they are, what they're going to. They say, "I want to hear from the people," and then they dominate it.
that's right.
How would you be different as a person who likes to listen and enjoys listening? How would a town hall go with you in charge, or how if you're at a diner coming through? I mean, how would all that work through?
I think if you're not listening to the people, then you're in the wrong position to begin with. I think that you can have your own views about things, but you have to remember who you're representing. You're the voice of the people.
Right.
So if you don't need to speak for yourself. You can have your views, but if you're not listening to the people, then why are you doing what you're doing? It seems to be selfish at that point. So are you serving or are you doing it for yourself? So
And that brings up a topic we bumped into not too long ago about lobbyists.
right.
Are we listening to the people with influence and power in Jackson,
Mhm.
or are we listening to the people that we represent again?
Absolutely. You got to remember where you come from. I mean, if you don't remember where you come from, then you lose track of why you're there in the first place.
Well,
So,
and certainly you've got roots in this area, so there's a lot of people who've seen a lot of
Absolutely.
Rogers come before you who, they know that when they tell them something, it means something.
I would feel more disappointed in letting the people down that I grew up with and the area that I came from. I'd be more disappointed in that than trying to go with somebody in Jackson that I barely know, and them trying to convince me that this is the right thing. Well, no, this is where I came from, and this is who I represent. So if you don't put that first, then you shouldn't be there, in my opinion.
I appreciate the thought. If you were elected, what would be your leadership style?
Just like I said earlier, being a great listener. I mean, you have to listen to the people first.
Uh-huh.
And then at that point, once you are sure about what you're going to do, what you're going to say, no matter what, stick to it. You got to be persistent. You got to be confident in what you're saying and what you're doing. And that's just the kind of leader I am. Once I make up my mind about something, that's what I'm going with. I believe in it.
And once you had made up your mind, can you have you thought a little bit about how you would get enough members of the house to kind of collaborate with you
Right.
in a way that you would have a chance to get what you're talking about done?
Well, I mean, you have to. If I were to be elected, I mean, day one when you get there, relationships are everything.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you don't talk to the people there, and you don't have to like all of them, they're always going to have different views, but you have to get along at least. I mean, you have to be able to see their point of view as well. You may not totally agree with it, but if you don't collaborate with everyone and sort of understand where they come from, maybe their decision or their view on a certain situation is because of where they live. You
Right.
know? They may live down on the coast, and their view of this circumstance is different from mine.
Right.
But you have to talk to them and see how, where they come from to understand their views.
Well, and the whole idea of disagreeing but not being disagreeable.
That's
See,
right.
that's another trait I thought your mom had or has.
We'll just agree to disagree.
She could disagree.
That's
I
right.
think she disagreed with her colleagues, but she wasn't necessarily disagreeable.
That's right.
So, all right.
Keep an open mind.
As you would head to Jackson, what legislative areas would you have an interest in?
Well, I am an educator. My wife's an educator, so education is definitely in the forefront. I have to focus on education because that is what is familiar to me. That's what I've spent 10 years of my life doing. So that is a big, big deal for me.
Well, then we need more teachers
Yes.
or school people down there, because I think sometimes there's a lot of lawyers down there.
There's a lot of lawyers down there. Yes.
But there's not necessarily a lot of educators.
Educators. You don't usually. Well, the deal is this: if you're an educator and you run for office, you obviously can't teach school and go to Jackson as well. And as bad as teacher salaries are currently, you make less money being state representative than you do as a teacher.
Yes,
so,
sir.
You really have to be committed to serving, and this is what you want to do, because can you still support your family and speak for the people as well and give up your teaching job? So you've got to have a profession usually that you can take off from for a few months, go
Mhm.
represent someone in Jackson, and then come back. So yes, there's many lawyers down there and professions that.
Now, how would you and your family balance you being a legislator? Would that mean you would resign as a teacher?
I would have to resign. Yes, I'd have to resign as a teacher, and when I was not in session, I'd have to get another job to support my family. So I'm willing to do that
Okay.
because I believe in serving, and I believe, I want to be the one to do it. So I'm willing to take that sacrifice and go down there to Jackson for those 3 or 4 months and come back, and when I'm not in session, to get an additional job.
Okay.
So
Are there any issues where you see a law that you would like to see changed, or you see an area that needs a law or something like that, or is that something you just kind of need to get down there and get in the middle of it to find out?
yeah, I sort of have to look at it, and especially if it's dealing with funding certain things, you need to sort of look at the budget. I mean, it's easy to say this needs more money, or the budget, if the budget doesn't account for it, it's difficult to do. I just want to make sure that most of the bills or most of the circumstances in our state are at least on the southeastern average. We don't need to be the bottom on anything. That's unacceptable. I mean, you may not be first, but there's no reason to be last. So I want to make sure that at least the things are being done to keep us right there in the middle, keep us competitive. Mississippi has taken the back seat for too long on several things, and I think it's unacceptable.
Appreciate it. I've never run for anything, and anytime I've ever thought about it, I've always thought, how would I fund my campaign? I mean,
Uh-huh.
how does that come together? How are you? I mean, is that a leap of faith where you're just? Or
Sometimes.
How does that work?
Currently, I'm funding my own campaign. I've got a few loans to help fund it, but no one individually is helping me right now. So besides family, gotten some donations from family. I've got a big
Okay.
family, but
So that's good.
most of I'm pretty much fully funded. I mean, not fully funded, but self-funded.
Okay. you and Donald Trump, huh?
Yeah, me and Donald
I don't
Trump.
want to put you in the same sentence. Huh?
I hear
Well,
you.
I mean, I'm neither for nor against, so don't. Anyway,
I hear
sorry
you.
about that.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah. Views on a few educational topics. Let me start you out with state testing. In a way, state testing has revolutionized what goes on in school buildings really since 2001 with No Child Left Behind.
You're right.
How do you view that? Because there's some people that like less of it, some that would like more, but how do you look at it?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of state testing just because it seems to dominate, at least in my experience, the last 9 weeks there, that last fourth 9 weeks. They're just so focused on this state test that I think you start losing time away from the regular classwork and the regular curriculum. You're so focused on that test because they grade you on that test. They grade the principals on that test. They grade the students on that test. The teachers, the school,
The school's in the paper.
everything.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that. I think there needs to be you have to grade someone some way. I mean, everybody. If you own your own company, you have to grade your employees some way. You know, keep people accountable.
Right.
But I just think there should be some way different of doing that state test. I mean, even college graduates. High school graduates. They got to take an ACT test to get into college.
Right.
Well, I mean, they get to take that test numerous times. So they may have a bad day the day of the test, or may have had a loved one pass away, or they didn't get enough sleep. Well, guess what? They get to go take that test again. We're
Well,
not that fortunate in the school system.
And I know there are some legislators who say instead of taking a state biology test and a state algebra test and a state English test and why don't we just use the ACT scores, or why don't we set benchmarks from
Something.
different kinds of tests that already exist? I mean, what are your thoughts
Or
on that?
do both. Let them take the state test. Let them also take the ACT. Compare that with the state testing scores and say, look, is it pretty consistent? Consistently the same, or why did they score so high on this ACT portion and they were so low on the state test? Does it mean the test is deficient? I mean, I don't know, but I just think there should be different options rather than just that one day, that one test to grade everyone.
Well, I see a place for tests myself. I'm editorializing. I have to say this. I see a place for tests, but I haven't heard colleges say that in the almost 18 years we've been giving state tests that the students who get to college are more prepared for college
Exactly.
work. And you would like to see a correlation. State tests go up, preparation for college seems to be better.
Right.
And so far I haven't really heard that. Now it may come in
Right.
another decade, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, you've got some people that have 4.0 GPAs, but they're not great test takers.
Right, especially in a timed environment.
Right.
Well, let me hit you on another one.
Okay.
Teacher pay's been all through the news lately. Did your mother vote for the pay raise?
She did vote for the pay raise. Always has, always will.
Okay.
So,
Your view on teacher salaries, and this year they did a $1,500 pay
They
raise
did.
for teacher aides as well,
they did.
which I think was really way overdue.
It was. And surprisingly enough, it's a voting year. It's a campaign year. So
Well,
that seemed
yeah,
to-
you love that year before the election,
That's
you
right.
know, 'cause then
That's
you have
right.
a chance.
I think the first proposal was maybe just a one-time $500 bonus.
Yeah.
I think that was shot down pretty quickly, and we sort of proposed something higher on a yearly basis, and then they settled on about $1,500. So
Well, I did a little bit of a survey one time, and a single teacher with 2 kids in some parts of Mississippi qualifies for state assistance,
yeah, that's right.
and that is really unfortunate.
Well, our teacher starting salaries right now we're 50th out of 50 states.
Mhm.
So if you need to improve on something, I would definitely say let's start with the issues that we're dead last in the United States in. I mean, there's only one place to go, and that's up.
Right.
So,
Well, and I've asked the question before. Imagine that if Mississippi had the best public education in the country,
yeah,
how would that change the state?
right.
I mean, and it would have to make a big difference.
I would think so too. Hey, not only that, of course, this may you're a former superintendent, so you know, but our state superintendent is actually the highest paid in the United States.
Is she?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
She's the highest paid, and our teacher salaries are 50th out of 50. So that's why that is, I don't know, but that's just
it's a bad look.
it's a bad look.
I think
yes,
I
it
kind of
doesn't
know
look
why
good.
that is, but it's still a bad look.
It's a bad look, yeah.
Well, let me get you on to the next couple of things. I know there's been a lot of discussion about bridges and roads and in of need repair, and some people have proposed gas taxes and all that kind of stuff. Your thoughts?
I know that there is a bridge and road fund in
Yes.
Jackson, and they continue to put money in that. We need to continue to fund that. As far as bridges and roads in our area around here, I think we need a 4-lane Highway 15 all the way from the coast to the Tennessee line. I think that needs to be done, or at least there needs to be a plan in place to do that. We're fortunate enough around here in Union County to have 4 lanes, but we need to expand it all the way.
Okay. I know the folks in Pontotoc would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
As well up through Ripley, yeah.
Absolutely. So,
You and your wife both drive buses. Have y'all taken buses and been near or on bridges that you were concerned about?
sometimes.
Because I know in my old job, I used to be worried about that in a place or two.
Right. Some people don't realize how expensive it is to redo roads. I know
Mhm.
my mom has at least once or a year ago got $500,000 for Union County and the surrounding areas. But I mean that it was easily spent like that because it takes so much to repair the roads. But still, you have to stay up with everyone else. I mean, if you ever drive on I-69 there and cross into Alabama, the minute you cross into Alabama because their roads are smooth as silk. So
It matters.
It matters. We have to pay attention to that.
I remember when we got Toyota, all of a sudden we had Interstate 22. I mean,
That's what I meant. Yeah,
people
Interstate
knew.
22.
Yeah, people knew that they had to do something like
Right.
that. So, well, PERS has been an issue the last. PERS is the Public Employee Retirement System, and it is the retirement system for police officers, teachers, highway patrolmen.
That's right.
I'm missing some, but
Mhm.
There has been an effort in some ways to either do away with it or make it optional or to minimize it. Your thoughts?
We have to make sure that PERS is funded, it stays intact, protect our 13th check. Of course, as an educator, of course I'm interested in that because that's part of my retirement system. I just think it's important because it's an incentive to be a public servant, number one, and also I think, in my personal opinion, I don't think we have to worry about it quite as much just because the people down there in the legislature, they also have that retirement system as well. So
All right, so a little self-interest.
a little
going.
self-interest with that. So I think it will be okay. But lots of people I know are worried about their 13th check. So,
Which, for people out there,
Uh-huh.
basically the cost of living is 3% increase, and they, instead of taking that on a monthly basis,
that's right.
they take it all in one check at the end of the year,
Yeah. Or COLA,
which is
cost of living adjustment.
right, which
Yeah.
is called that 13th check.
That's
So
it.
that was, and that is and I think they have actually fixed it now that people have to take it on a monthly basis.
That's right.
So, because some people got so concerned about a 13th check,
Exactly.
if that
yes.
makes any.
Yes.
Couple more questions.
Okay.
What would be your approach to trying to help bring new business and industry to our area and the state at large?
First of all, we need to do everything we can do to make our state attractive.
Yes, sir.
Number one, and that goes back to
Roads.
roads. Yeah, everything that's we're labeled as the worst in the country. We need to get that at least on the national average, right there, somewhere in the middle, to make it attractive. So you don't want people saying, no, don't go to Mississippi because they're the worst in this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you could offer to them. I know that they've in the past given them tax breaks or told them, look, we'll you don't have to pay as high taxes, or we'll excuse them completely. But in return, make sure that you give us this many jobs for our people in Mississippi. So I think they'll be intrigued by giving them a break on taxes, but we also need to get something in return for that, and that's more jobs for us. So, just make Mississippi more attractive to come to.
Okay. We talk. My last question, then I'm going to just ask you if you have anything you want to talk about
Okay.
before we close off. But my last question would just be about healthcare in Mississippi. Do you have any thoughts about? I mean, it's really a tough world to live in if you're sick and you can't afford the prescription
right.
or the doctor. And prescriptions, even if you have insurance, have gotten
They're off the
really
charts.
expensive.
They are.
Any thoughts? I mean, I know that maybe there's not that much we can do about it, but your
Yeah,
thoughts?
that's going to be it's going to be a budget thing in the end. We could possibly expand Medicaid, maybe let more people, increase the number of people that get Medicaid. But as a whole, it's going to be a budget deal.
Yes,
It'll
sir.
be. So that would be really something you have to look at the budget and decide how much money can we allocate to this, and how many people can you help? Is it worth doing it? And of course, healthcare is always worth it, but we don't want to. In Mississippi, we want to make sure the budget is something that is a good budget. Let's don't go into debt like the federal government has, and we're trillions into debt. So
Right.
they're already labeled Mississippi at the bottom. Let's don't get into deep debt as well. So we need to have something that's effective, something that will help people, but we can't drop in the hole either.
I like the fact that our state has a balanced budget.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
It
that
has to
is
be.
important. Well, are there any topics you'd like to kind of weigh out or hold forth on, or?
I just think it's just important that we educate our youth. As far as bringing more, we need more people in this state helping us. We need we passed or working on passing that broadband bill.
Yes,
you
sir.
heard about that?
That
So
would be a real
make sure
plus.
people that we're so focused on social media,
Right.
and that's a big deal now. So
Mhm.
our youth, if we don't have, I love that bill because people in rural areas can now get on the internet. I mean, that's if you tell a young person, don't go to Mississippi. There's places you can't even get on the internet in Mississippi. I just think we need to become up to date, improve our state in the areas that we're really weak in,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in turn that will bring more people to the state.
Well said.
So,
Well, Mr. Rogers,
Thank
I
you, sir.
appreciate you coming in
Absolutely.
and joining us today.
all right.
And with that, this is Chuck Garrett for Hill Country Network. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.